Allow me to explain to everyone in the NBA world what is happening. There is no curse. When Danhausen, in our world of WWE, a clown with face paint, comes and says, "You are cursed," there is no curse. The Cleveland Cavaliers are not cursed. They are going to beat the New York Knicks. They are going to move on to the finals, and they are going to win the NBA championship. And that's awesome!
Yeah, I don't think so.
Get out of here!
All right, I'm feeling a little better. Yeah, I felt that WWE might have prematurely put out that Danhausen Knicks merchandise, but as we speak, the Knicks are dominating Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals against the Cleveland Cavaliers. It looks like they will be going to the NBA Finals the first time since 1999, and I tell you, I hope they win it. I mean, I know this is a wrestling show, but as a basketball fan growing up, I started watching basketball in the early 80s. Bernard King was my first big Knicks star to enjoy. And then we had all the buzz about Patrick Ewing because I had friends that were on their way to St. John's University. I went to St. John's University for about 2 weeks. So the rivals were Georgetown, and Lou Carnesecca was the coach at the time. So basketball in Queens, New York was a big thing. And when Patrick Ewing ended up going to the Knicks, and then you had Charles Oakley and John Starks and everybody else that went along, I was hooked. Mets was always number one for me. Knicks were always number two. And I think after the early to mid 2000s, I just fell out of favor with the Knicks, with basketball. You know, a lot of changes over the years, a lot of three-pointers, but you can't help but feel what's going on right now. In New York, basketball's never left New York. I want to make that clear. But in my neck of the woods where basketball is not like the biggest priority, it feels a lot like when Italy was advancing to the World Cup over a decade ago. I remember the buzz and the aura all around the neighborhood when Italy, we thought, was going to win it all. I mean, the streets were packed. Everybody was wearing soccer jerseys and everything else. And as soon as that came and went, as did a lot of the, just hardcore following of the soccer. So look, the Knicks, by the end of this show, will be on their way to the finals. Let's see what happens a week from now when we return with your next edition of the Don Tony Show. I want to welcome you. It is Monday night, the 25th of May, 2026. Now, what do we do next week? For everybody live, you're the ones that make the decision. Should we go live Monday afternoon next week, like around 4:30 p.m.? Or do we just pre-record it and put it online? Do we do it normal schedule, 10:30 p.m.? The people that are saying, why would you do it early in the afternoon? A reminder, Clash in Italy is this Saturday in Turin, Italy. There is a 6-hour time difference between New York and Italy. So when it's 8 p.m. in Italy, it's 2 p.m. here in New York. So Monday Night Raw, well, let me take a step back. Clash in Italy starts at 2 p.m. this Saturday, Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m. Central. 11 a.m. Pacific, 12 noon Eastern. No. Okay, I'm a little rattled here. The pre-show starts at 12 noon Eastern here in New York, 9 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Central, and then the main show starts at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Central. Got it. Now to confuse you even more, the first hour of Clash in Italy will air on regular ESPN. Not ESPN2, not ESPN Classic, not ESPN whatever, the regular ESPN. Because usually on a Saturday or a Sunday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, ESPN normally doesn't have must-see TV going on. So that's why it's going to be on the main channel. It is interesting how they're going to make you order the big subscription to watch Brock Lesnar versus Oba Femi. Last time it was the grab to get you to order the rest. This time around, nah. We're going to give you Gunther versus Cody Rhodes for free. We're going to give you Rhea Ripley versus Jade Cargill for free. Then the last 3 matches will be on the paid show. If you're international, you watch it all on Netflix. If you're behind the VPN, you watch it all on Netflix. So this Monday, a week from today, Raw will start same time like the pay-per-view, premium live event. Raw will start at 2 p.m. Eastern next Monday. So, definitely post your comments, especially those alive. What do you want me to do next week? Do you want me to go live right after it airs in the afternoon? Do I do a stream later on in the evening on normal schedule, or do I just do a pre-record and put it online? So by the end of the night, we should know. So what did you guys think of Monday Night Raw today? The lead-in for Clash in Italy. I keep having the verge to say Clash at the Castle, or Clash in Paris, Clash in Italy. I'm definitely looking forward to it. I have said this a few times already. I'm not thrilled about the 5-match card. You would think, especially that you offer in the first hour on regular cable television, you would think that maybe you add an extra match. Because doesn't it feel like if you're going to air something on ESPN for the regular channel, and yes, you need to have a cable subscription in some shape or form to watch the first hour. But doesn't it feel like that should be like a Sunday night heat? Doesn't it feel like it should be like an AEW buy-in? Doesn't it feel like it should be like a dark match before the pay-per-view / premium live event? I don't like that you're taking a main event, something that is a main card, and you're putting the first hour here and the other hour and a half here and this and that. Do an extra hour. Grab the people in. I don't know. I don't know. Just how I feel. It's all under the ESPN platform. So they paid for this. They gave WWE billions. So this is how they want it. This is how they want to give it to us. But I'm looking forward to it. Oh my God, Danhausen and Miz, get off my screen. All right, the Knicks are advancing. That's great. Let's talk about more exciting news, shall we? Paul, can we fire Logan Paul? Logan Paul is injured. I hope people read the title for this episode and not just skim through it, thinking that I'm trying to make it seem like WWE is bringing back the New Day. I almost wanted to put the word rule in capital letters because I know some people probably just glance over like, wait, New Day, wait, Kofi and Xavier coming? No. They're done. That's it. Let me put it this way. If Kofi and Xavier had second thoughts and they contacted TKO, like, listen, we thought about what you offered and everything, and I know you wanted us to take a 50% pay cut. All right, after thinking about it a little bit further, we kind of jumped the gun, and we're still making very, very good money, and, our family is set, and, we have stability here. We'll come back. With all due respect, if I'm Mark Shapiro or Ari Emanuel or Nick Khan, I turn around and I say, all right, but you're going to have to take a 65% pay cut or a 70% pay cut. I don't turn around and say, okay, you could come back, maybe for Brock Lesnar, but not for Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. So now, what am I talking about? What does this have to do with Logan Paul? At Saturday night's main event, Logan Paul tore his triceps. He will be out of action. Michael Cole makes it seem like a couple of months. Just think about Cody Rhodes. Just think about other torn tricep injuries. It's a lot longer than that. So he will have surgery almost immediately. That's why he did not see him on Monday Night Raw today. But we were wondering immediately, okay, what happens with the tag titles? You would have thought that WWE would do an audible before the match even started, Saturday night's main event. And if Austin Theory, Logan Paul, if any of you get a substantial, serious injury, let's do an audible and have the Street Profits win the tag titles. Nah. Now, to their defense, I don't know what it feels like to tear a tricep. I've torn my bicep and I've torn my rotator cuff in the past. I know that pain, but I don't know what a torn tricep feels. But apparently Logan Paul knew immediately that he tore his tricep. So maybe at ringside they weren't sure. Maybe it wasn't major, this and that. So they went ahead and finished the match anyway. But we learned on Monday Night Raw tonight that Austin Theory will still keep his tag team championship. And Paul Heyman reveals, I think Braun is probably ecstatic about this. Paul Heyman reveals that when he signed the contract for Austin Theory and Logan Paul to get a tag team title shot against the Usos, that it was technically, I know for older folk like me, we would say the Freebird rule. But in actuality, it was the New Day rule. So Paul Heyman is incorporating the New Day rule. So because of that, Austin Theory is still your tag team champion. And now he's going to hold the titles with Braun Breaker. So congratulations to Braun Breaker. He is now one half of the Raw tag team champions. That is why you saw Austin Theory suddenly grow a bigger set. Not only is he growing a bigger set, has anybody noticed this about Austin Theory? I noticed it tonight. What the fuck is going on with his eyebrows? I mean, honestly, you could kind of like turn it sideways and it looks like a landing strip for a female's crotch. What is that? They're turning into like rugs. I mean, it's not a unibrow, but you would think you would trim those eyebrows a little bit. I don't know. Maybe he always had that. And I just never paid attention. But Austin Theory is intensifying himself, not to match the adrenaline of Braun Breaker, but you have to increase the intensity if you're going to team with Braun Breaker. That's why we saw what we saw tonight. And trust me, that's what it is, plain and simple. Most of the analysis that we do on these shows is always spot on. Last week, literally after Raw went off the air 5 minutes, everybody was like, what's going on with Sol Ruca? Why are they dropping her out? Why is it not a title match at Saturday night's main event? And you had all these people creating this paranoia, and then clearing it up. Oh, WWE clarifies it's a non-title at Saturday night's main event. We fucking knew that when Raw ended last week. And the idea was simple. Sol Ruca, has been losing a couple of times on Raw. Becky Lynch, a little too comfortable. You have Saturday night's main event, non-title. So what ends up happening, Sol Ruca gets the victory. Becky Lynch is caught off guard. That sets up the title match in Italy. That's what we talked about. We talked about it on Wednesday when we did predictions. In fact, we fucking almost ran the table between Saturday night's main event and AEW Double or Nothing. We got every match right on Saturday night's main event, despite two of the matches have completely different betting odds. We would have made money. And we also nailed every match on AEW Double or Nothing, with the exception of MJF. I had a bad feeling about it, but I thought, you know what, Darby Allin, they've been wanting him to be the guy with the belt for a couple of years now. Have him have a nice extended run. You get closer to Wembley. Then you could kind of like mix and match the title a little bit and figure out who's the best person for Ospreay to defeat. So, the idea of MJF getting bald would have been pretty funny and interesting. I haven't heard about him doing any movies. That was the only match that we got wrong. And let me tell you something. When we get into predictions for Clash in Italy, for this show tonight, and we're also going to give predictions for AAA's event this weekend. It's only 4 matches. So we're going to do that one also. But when we do predictions for Clash in Italy, I always include betting odds. And I know not all of you bet. And I know some of you out there don't care about betting odds, but it is very important because people legitimately can bet money on wrestling. And when betting odds are done a certain way, understand that the betting odds are designed for you to lose money, not to win money. So when you see some odds, the way they come in, the idea is that they think that they know who the winner is going to be. And sure, in a scripted world, they'll never know unless they're in the creative meetings, but they have a good, pulse as far as who's going to win and who's not. And sometimes the odds are quite interesting. And I tell you, there's one match for this Saturday's Clash in Italy that I'm blown away by the odds. It is probably, it could be the most difficult match to predict in recent memory. So we will do that momentarily. Betting in general might be moronic, Ben, but betting and making some money off of it is not a stupid thing. I got in a scripted world, it might be kind of stupid, but I thought the Sal Ruka match was a gimme. I mean, going into Saturday night's main event, Sal Ruka was the underdog. How is that possible? I mean, somebody brain dead would have been able to figure that out. She won by DQ, but still, she was going to get a win. You had to have the win to justify a title match. So, anyway, should we just get into Raw immediately? We'll get into Raw. We'll do predictions. We'll get into a couple of news tidbits and we'll get out of here. No Invader games tonight. Believe it or not, the Nash Invaders did not go over as well as I thought it would be last week. So what we are going to do is we are going to bring it back probably in about 2 weeks. And if we do it again, which we will, we'll do it on Sundays, not on Mondays. I think Sunday is a more casual, relaxed show. And I think Sundays is the more apropos way to go. I think Meltzer Invaders might be next. I'm just trying to figure out what sound bites to use as special effects. Because Meltzer doesn't have a theme song. Meltzer, you could say AEW, 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 AEW. I don't know. I got to play around a little bit. But I think Meltzer Invaders might be the next one. So I do want to say one very quick thing about AEW Double or Nothing. I have watched a little more than half of it already. Last night we did the sit down for 2.5 hours during the show, so obviously I couldn't watch the show, and I wasn't going to watch 4 hours plus at fucking midnight, even though it was a holiday. But I've watched half of it so far, and for people online that are saying that this might be their greatest pay-per-view of all time, I don't disagree. From what I've seen so far, and I'm watching matches out of place. There's some matches that I wanted to see more than others. With all due respect, there's a couple of matches I could give shit about. Big Boom AJ, no interest. Couple other matches, no interest. But I did watch Stadium, Anarchy in the Arena. I almost said Stadium Stampede, COVID days. I loved the intro. I love the intro with Jericho, and they're playing Metallica's Devil's Dance. I love that Jericho and MVP have mended fences. Just everything about it was entertaining. To see Christian and Edge, I'm sorry, that's what I'm going to call them, becoming tag champs again for the first time since 2001 was pretty cool. Kind of wish that Edge would have done the flaming table spot and not have his wife incorporated, but it was a nice surprise nonetheless. Mick Foley being there, we knew that was coming. He is now contracted to AEW. Don't know for how many years, but AEW has signed Mick Foley. So it'll be more than just buy-ins. He'll be a little bit of an ambassador. The way it came off yesterday with a little interaction with MJF and others, it looks like he might get a little bit physical. They've been teasing that Foley wants to have one last match. Could he pull it off? I don't know. I don't know physically if he can handle it. I thought what he did was decent. It didn't sound like he was, like talking through his spaces on his teeth. He didn't have the Ric Flair lisp like he started to get. I actually thought it was decent. Christian, during the I Quit match telling Dax, I banged your mom. Yeah, it's funny stuff. So far from what I've seen, Darby Allin doing that insane dive. There was a shitload that I have liked so far. Probably the only thing that I didn't really I wasn't really excited for was the Kevin Knight heel turn. I mean, I get it. He's much more known to AEW fans than anything else, but he's not a household name yet. And I honestly think a lot of people, it's like he hasn't clicked with fans to the point where you have emotion. That's the best way I could put it. You know, you have wrestlers that could be on TV for a while, and you could have wrestlers that are over. But there's a difference between being over and having that emotional connection. When R-Truth got released, and this week is the anniversary of R-Truth getting fired last year, or his contract being non-renewed, that's an emotional connection, not just amongst fans, but the whole roster and beyond. That's an emotional connection. Someone else who is a great talent, you know, you look at someone like Santos Escobar, you know, great talent. We all loved his work. We all know what he could do. No real emotional connection there. You know, you're disappointed at some people that are like, but you don't have that emotional connection where you feel it. Usually when you have someone turn heel, especially as major as it was yesterday, you want to have a little emotion. And honestly, I had none. So that's the only complaint that I really have so far. But people calling it their best pay-per-view of all time, I agree. And I'll tell you one other thing in closing. We'll get into match results a little bit later. Actually, I'll give you match results now because I'm just going to read them. I do want to share an interesting tidbit that I calculated that might surprise some of you out there. We always talk about the length of WWE shows. Their premium live events average between 80 to 90 minutes of wrestling. You add up even WrestleMania, night 1, night 2, whatever, you know, premium live events, Saturday Night's Mania. Saturday Night's Mania might be a little less than normal, but usually WWE premium live events, the total amount of wrestling minutes in the ring is 80 to 90. That's what they usually do. AEW Double or Nothing, bell to bell, did not 80 to 90 minutes like WWE. It did 188 minutes. It was like watching 2 WWE premium live events. So yes, you get your money's worth, but it is quite a long time. 12 matches is a lot. I honestly think, you know, listen, it's almost like when you go to an all-you-can-eat bar, you know, or you pay like a certain price and you get, you know, salad, appetizer, soup, food, coffee, dessert, more dessert, after dinner stuff. And you're like, you know what? That was great for the money, but man, it's a little bit too much. You know, I don't need 3 appetizers handed to me. You know, 2's enough, you know, or 1's enough. You know, you don't hear many people saying, you know, I don't want as much for my money. But I also think it gets to the point where you just feel like I'm tired, but I'm excited, tired. And then especially when you have MJF and Darby kill it like they did, you know, over the weekend, you're left exhausted, but you still have an adrenaline rush. And I know it's a holiday weekend and everything, but I honestly think if they would trim that down to like 140 minutes of wrestling in the ring, I think you would have, it's like going to the movies. When we were younger, average movie would be about what, 90 minutes, maybe an hour and 45 minutes when you're in the movie theater. You know, you see an Academy Award caliber movie. You know, I think most of us would agree that if we really enjoyed the movie, great. But we probably would get a little bit tired if the movie was 3.5 hours long instead of an hour and 45 minutes. So there is a sweet spot. All right, there is something called the sweet spot that I think AEW needs to cut down a little bit. You could have easily cut down 2 matches on this card, have a nice sweet spot, and I honestly think from beginning to end it would have been perfect. The fact that I got to watch it in 2 sittings says it also. So, very quickly, and by the way, I love how they have the bands for Rebel. You know, I kind of felt bad for Rebel yesterday because if you watched some of the comments on the media scrum and social media, Rebel, I hope you're doing okay. Like I saw so many fans saying that. And I'm saying to myself, you pay attention if you're an AEW. She's dying. She's fucking dying. She may not last 3 to 6 months. I hope you're doing fine. I hope you're better. I hope you get better soon. No, you're not thinking about her. If you were truly thinking about her, you would know that she's terminal. I just watched that yesterday repeatedly, after, because I watched a little bit afterwards, seeing like some highlights of the scrum. I was looking at some comments online, looking at social media. I'm like, wow, I'm shocked at how many AEW fans that were clueless to this. I was kind of surprised. And it wasn't just one or two. I ignore one or two matarazzas. When you see droves of people doing that, I'm like, where were you? Like, I don't know. All right, very quickly, match results. Megan Bayne and Lena Cross over Zeta Steel and Viva Van. We've talked about Viva Van in the past. We're fans of her, but we're fans of Van. But I'm a fan of Van, but we know that there's a lot of there's a lot of false advertising. Not on her part, but Claudio Castagnoli, Daniel Garcia, and Willa Yuta over Anthony Bowens, Hook, and Shibata. We had Big Blue AJ, QT Marshall, Mark Briscoe, Orange Cassidy, and Roderick Strong defeated Shane Taylor Promotions of Shane Taylor, Anthony Ogogo. Kick me up before you go. Captain Sean Dean and Carly Bravo, Lee Moriarty. We had Cage and Cope win the AEW Tag Championships in an I Quit match against FTR. Takeshita wins the International Championship over Okada. Athena defeated Mina Shirakawa to advance in the Owen Hart tournament. Jon Moxley retains the Continental Championship over Kyle O'Reilly. If you heard my predictions Wednesday, you know the outcomes for everything except for one. Will Ospreay defeated Samoa Joe to advance in the Owen Hart tournament. Swerve over Bandito to advance in the tournament. For the AEW Women's World Championship, Thekla retains the title, defeating Karushita, Jamie Hayter, and Chris Statlander. And Stadium Stampede of Chris Jericho, Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and Jack Perry defeated Ricochet, Bishop Khan, Toa Leona, Mark Davis, Andrade, Clark Connors, and David Finlay. In the main event, MJF regains the AEW World Championship, defeating Darby Allin. Darby Allin's title was on the line. MJF's hair was on the line. So that's your match results. So, all right. I'm just trimming down my notes over here. Oh, we got 2 audio clips as well. One has to do with John Cena and the John Cena Classic, and another one is from Gunther. And the Gunther one is only 60 seconds long, but it's a beautiful example as to why you should listen to interviews and not just read wrestling news sites. This one is going to be interesting when I share it, and you'll appreciate the audio when I play it. It has to do with who Gunther wants to retire in wrestling. Very, very deceiving news stories out there. So, you know what? Let's recap Raw. Let's take All Elite Wrestling off the screen. There's your gratuitous Mick Foley picture. He is All Elite. He's dropped some weight recently, too. So losing some weight is always good for the joints. So, all right. One last thing. If you haven't checked it out yet, you really should check out last night's sit down. We got into a nice deep dive on the whole Ludwig Kaiser, Marcel Barthel arrest situation. We sifted out the bullshit. We cleared up a lot of inconsistencies online. We addressed, with all due respect, some are friendly with me and I'm friendly with them and I respect them, some very careless reporting. The ICE remark, I think, is probably the most careless thing to say, because especially with the climate of how people perceive ICE, to put something out there, whether true or not, that's fucking dangerous. Very dangerous to do. And, I think we were very fair on what we talked about yesterday. And let me also say this in closing. If anybody out there that's reading exclusives, my sources tell me that WWE is not going to discipline Marcel Barthel over the arrest. That is not insider information. That is, wow, he went back to Mexico on Friday. Wow, he was revered and loved. Wow, they're still doing the mask versus mask. Wow, he's on a trajectory of facing Dominik Mysterio for the title. Wow, it seems like that it's common sense, but they're trying to make it as news, my sources tell me. Do you think anybody that is in WWE management, TKO management, Kaiser himself, his attorneys, Richard Reap, or anything, you think anybody, Bizarte, you think any of them reached out to WrestlingDickhead.com and said, listen, they're not going to do anything about it? No. They're just looking at they're reading the room. They're seeing that nothing is changing. In fact, he's gaining more popularity over it. So that's not news. That's common sense. But again, this is the game that they play, and it's my job to sometimes pull the plug. I know it's not fun. But somebody's got to do it, right? So definitely check out yesterday's show. That was a lot of research, and it was a lot of fun and a lot of common sense. So I think the other big news tidbit to come out of Monday Night Raw, obviously the contract signing with Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu. I have some thoughts on that. It kind of reminded me of Roman Reigns and CM Punk. Kind of reminded me of that. You know, the forehead to forehead bump at the end, the handshake, suddenly, you're like Jacob Fatu talking his shit, but he's kind of being respectful to Roman as well. Nah, man, this is not a bad episode of Star Trek. It's not like you have the weapon, like, yeah, I have my lethal salami, and you just tap each other, you know, you show a little respect after. No, you're a fucking savage, you're a savage. By the way, LA Knight's promo tonight sucked. His confrontation with Jimmy Uso was dumb, and I will explain why. And I'm one of the biggest LA Knight fans out there. That promo, I'm watching it, and I'm like, oh my God, like, who is this catering to? Is this just catering to fans that would just want to go, L.A. Knight, yeah? It was so dumb, and I will tell you why. Fireworks are going off. Oh, the Knicks probably just won. I hear fireworks going off outside. Just someone confirm if the Knicks just won and what was the score. I'd like to share it with everyone. So one thing I do want to show you, because I kind of had some fun with some artwork earlier. Think about it now with Logan Paul's injury, with the torn tricep. Think about the vision now. We had Seth Rollins tear his leg up, tear his arm up, you know, with the match with Cody Rhodes. Remember, he tore his arm up. You have Bronson Reed. He had to go to the hospital, tore his arm up. You had Braun Breaker tear up his hamstring because of lifting the table, and now you have Logan Paul. So you know what that means? Austin Theory, you're next. Austin Theory is next. He is next. The vision is cursed. I mean, maybe they need to come out with a shirt from Danhausen. Vision, you are uncursed. 130 to 93. That is the final for the next game. 130 to 93. That is impressive. That is really impressive. So now, yeah, Swabby Sean says they get a 9-day respite. Oh, wow. So next Monday, nothing changes. Next Monday, we'll be doing predictions of the NBA Finals. So we'll talk about that next week. So tonight, it's about Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu with the contract signing. Sort of a contract signing with Oba Femi and Brock Lesnar, even though Brock Lesnar was not there tonight. We knew that Oba Femi was going to be there, but we open up Monday Night Raw with Paul Heyman. And Paul Heyman is in the ring, and, you know, he's doing his usual stick. And we see some recap of what went down at WrestleMania with Brock Lesnar and Oba Femi. And then suddenly we get a video package, pre-recorded video from Brock Lesnar. And he's talking about what happened at WrestleMania. Because Oba, he beat my ass so bad, I said, that's it. I'm done. But that doesn't sit well with me, Oba. Doesn't sit well for me. He made sure. See, this is interesting, guys. He didn't say that. I'm saying this. This is interesting because this is how they're handling Brock Lesnar's contract going forward. Brock Lesnar's had a part-time schedule for years. Now with Vince gone, and now with Brock not being as it is more business-like than any other time in Brock Lesnar's career. Maybe when Brock Lesnar first came in, he didn't have that deep connection and relationship with Vince McMahon. But now with Brock Lesnar, his relationship with WWE is now strictly business. There's no emotional connection with his boss. He doesn't have it with Nick Khan. He doesn't have it with Dwayne. He doesn't have it with Triple H. He doesn't have it with TKO. It's business, strictly business. So now what they're doing is, instead of leaving Brock Lesnar as a part-timer that you just don't know when he's going to show up, now he's retired. So whenever Saudi Arabia comes around or something big, he could unretire for one match and then retire again. He could turn, I'm retired. He'll show up, he'll beat someone, he'll beat up Roman Reigns, I'm retired. He'll beat up Oba Femi, I'm retired. No, I'm retired. Who's going to tell him otherwise? So that is interesting how they're handling this. Like, they want to have their cake and eat it too. They put out retirement merchandise for Brock. A lot of people spent money on it. And in all intents and purposes, Brock Lesnar is retired. And I got news for you. No one in wrestling has said this. I'm the first person that thought about possible pay cut. And maybe that changed after WrestleMania. I'm going to throw another one out there to you that I honestly think a lot of you could agree with. I have a feeling now Brock Lesnar might be on a paid per appearance deal. Or it's, not necessarily month to month, but it might be like small spurts at a time. Okay, we don't know if we're going to use Brock again, but hey, Brock, if you're in shape and you're available, we'd love to use you for Saudi Arabia. Okay. What are you looking at money-wise? Okay, that sounds good to me. My kids will never have enough money. And then I'm retired, but I'm going to come back and make a statement because that's what I think is happening going forward. I don't think there's this long-term deal with Brock Lesnar anymore. I think it just might be on a pay-per or short term. And sure, that means Brock is free to go wherever he wants. But I think at the end of the day, Brock Lesnar knows guaranteed money, stability, Saudi Arabia. I mean, they'll probably name a country or a city after him. Fuck the street sign. Fuck the street sign. One day the Crown Prince, we named this town Lesnarville, Brockville. I'm going to Brockville. So that goes out to the person who really propped for my Saudi Arabia. Even though he kind of said, I love you, Mexican impersonation too. And I always think they're the same. Don't I sound the same when I do Saudi Arabia or Mexico? So Brock Lesnar does his pre-recorded promo. Brock is like, hey, I can't take an ass whipping, but Oba, can you? And he says, you're going to get an ass kicking from a humbled, retired Brock Lesnar. And that's what we had from Brock Lesnar. Paul Heyman continues his promo in the ring. He's immediately interrupted by Oba Femi. Paul brings up how Oba has awakened the beast. I thought Brock was awake for WrestleMania, but Oba's awakened the beast. Oba comes out. Paul Heyman thinks he's going to get his ass kicked, and Oba Femi pretty much, no, Paul. We got to do it one more time, right? The ruler comes out. He looks at Paul. He's got the contract. He signs the contract with the paper leaning on Paul Heyman's chest, and you hear Paul Heyman, oh God, like he's going to pee his pants. You think Oba's going to beat him up. And Oba says, Paul, you said I awoke the beast? What do you think he has done to me? He has awoken me. What do you think 4 F5s have done to Oba Femi? The F5s have awoken Oba Femi as well. Don't worry, Paul, I'm not going to hurt you. You could spew that strictly business shit to me, that it's not personal. Hey, Paul, 4 F5s felt awfully personal to me. So he signs the contract and he tells Paul Heyman, you tell Brock that this is the final chapter. deliver this message. The last time I was fighting to beat him. This time I am fighting to kill him. So that's how we set up the match for Clash in Italy. So it is official. We have Brock Lesnar versus Oba Femi at Clash in Italy. So that is done. We will do predictions momentarily. I'm not comfortable with my prediction, but I will share it with you. And yes, I checked the betting odds about a half an hour after, we cut this, and it is kind of interesting. It's very close to another match prediction. The odds is kind of surprising. So next on I do have to say something else. There was a really dumb segment to open up Raw. They showed Roman Reigns arriving in the building. And Roman Reigns shows up, and there's a guy in production there to meet him, and he's got a box with a bow on it because it's Roman Reigns' birthday. So you don't hear any audio. You hear Michael Cole talking, and you hear that goofy rap music in the background. And then you see Roman Reigns. He's looking at the gift. It's a white gift box with a big bow on it. And the producer is like, here, this is for you. Happy birthday and everything. And Roman Reigns, I don't have an empty box, do I? This box will kill somebody. I don't have an empty box. But he goes like this with the box. He's like, get this shit out of my face. And the box goes flying. And if you look in the background, the box opens up. The fucking top of the box goes one way. The regular rest of the box goes the other. There's nothing inside it. There was nothing inside it. You would think you put something in there like a sweater or a pair of sweatpants or, whatever. Like there was nothing inside the box. And they even show the Matarats picking up the box and the cover. And I'm like, there's nothing inside the box. It was so stupid, man. Very stupid. So Penta had a tremendous match against Je'Von Evans. This was probably the closest that Penta has come to losing his championship. There were moments that people were really thinking Je'Von Evans may pull this one out. There was one point during the match, that Je'Von Evans got a little bit urban that probably made Karen Nash feel a little bit good, because there was one point where Penta's doing his little strut dance in the ring and Je'Von is doing it as well. And Je'Von's way of kind of swerving Penta was, while they're doing a dance, he decides to give a little drop kick to Penta. And Michael Cole's like, he's showing a little bit of, he's kind of learning. And like, oh, that was lame. Like, you did a drop kick. It was nothing special. But there was one stiff moment outside the ring that Je'Von Evans went for a dive to the outside, and Penta caught him and kept his momentum going. And Je'Von Evans went back first into the edge of the announcer's table. They immediately cut the commercial, but it looked really, really good, the visual of it, and it looked like he could have legitimately hurt himself. Believe it or not, unfortunately, I think for Lyra Vicarious, she did hurt herself, but it's probably just a deep bruise, and anything else, I'll tell you what happened a little bit later. We had a beautiful springboard OG cutter for a 2 count towards the end of the match. But how this match ended was Je'Von got OG cutter happy, and it backfired twice. He goes for a second OG cutter. Penta turns it into a super kick. Moments later, Je'Von Evans goes for another OG cutter, and this time around, Penta turns it into a backstabber. So failed OG cutter into a super kick, failed OG cutter into a backstabber. That allows Penta to hit the Mexican Destroyer for the win. So tremendous match. They had a little segment later on in the back where Je'Von Evans vows that, he's gonna, get he wasn't happy with the outcome, but, you could see this slowly, even in defeat sometimes, his stock is going up. You could tell they're not jobbing out Je'Von Evans. This was a very, very, very tight match tonight. As I said earlier, WWE's bringing back the New Day rule with Division's tag team title reign, with Logan Paul now injured. We saw a segment where Paul Heyman was in the back with Austin Theory. Austin Theory thought he was going to have to relinquish the tag titles. Paul Heyman's like, why would you do that? And then Paul Heyman reveals that when he signed the contract for the tag title shot, he signed the Vision. So that means any member of the Vision could defend the tag title. So even though Logan Paul is out, the tag championships will now be defended by Braun Breaker and Austin Theory. Austin Theory gives Paul Heyman the hug of a lifetime, a bigger hug than he would have gave to Vince McMahon with the golden fucking egg. And, kind of looked goofy. But then Austin Theory, this attitude adjustment happens. And Austin Theory decides he is going to get chair happy. He is chair happy tonight because right after this, we get the sort of return of Joe Hendry. I know he did a commercial last week, but Joe Hendry's in the ring and he's doing the same thing again. I get skeeved at Joe Hendry. No, he's doing his singing thing. And, we talked about it yesterday. Yesterday, we kind of nailed it on a lot of things. We predicted that we were going to get Montez Ford versus Seth Rollins in a match tonight. We talked about that yesterday. But I think there's a little concern for Joe Hendry because you're starting to feel like how WWE sees Joe Hendry. And I'm not wishing doom and gloom on the guy, but, when I was on Patreon Thursday, there was a few people that really grabbed onto something that I said, talking about the return of Enzo and Kaz and the Danhausen stuff. And I said, WWE's looking for more yeet moments. They're looking for more yeet moments in the arena where the fans live in the arena are having a good time and they're happy and this and that. And no, they don't want bad ratings on Netflix, and no, they don't want bad ratings on USA Network. But if they can make the live experience as fun as it could possibly get, they make a shitload more money in the arenas than, the television. Yes, Netflix is billions of dollars, but the point is you want to get the asses in the seats to pay the tickets to see these events still. So that's why I think Enzo and Kaz much more valuable for WWE right now than the Motor City Machine Guns, if we're being honest. And now I think with Joe Hendry, it's more like, all right, sing, have the fans sing along with it. They do this, Paul, can we fight? After a while, it's going to be like, Paul, can we fire Logan? It's like, this is what you got? Like, it's turning into too much comedy. Like, Joe Hendry got his ass chair bashed tonight. Where is this guy getting revenge on Austin Theory? I don't know if that's going to happen. Braun Breaker? Not really. It's like, who is he really feuding with? Who is he aligned with? The guy he's been calling out is now got a torn tricep and is going to be out for quite a while. So what is Logan Paul's trajectory? Joe Hendry's trajectory. Maybe the King of the Ring tournament? Don't see him winning it, not even close. Don't feel like any belts are in the future. So you start thinking to yourself, where is Joe Hendry's peak on the WWE roster? And I wonder if it's going to be like more of for live fans than anything else. And that's fine to an extent. But a year from now, it's going to be really interesting where Joe Hendry is on the food chain. Again, I don't wish anything bad on the guy, but it's going to be interesting if it's going to be cost effective. Like, do you want to spend that kind of money for what he is delivering live in the arenas? But so now he's in the ring and he's doing the Logan Paul thing, and Austin Theory comes out and chair bashes the fuck out of him to the point where officials come out and everything like that. So Joe Hendry is laid out. So let me put it this way. If they say that Joe Hendry will be out for an extended period of time, because I don't think that'll happen, but then we get this, man. I feared this. We talked about it in detail yesterday. You get, once again, Seth Rollins and the Street Profits in the back. And Seth Rollins, all Austin Theory did was hit Joe Hendry with a couple of chair shots. Seth Rollins sees the Street Profits in the back and actually says, I've never seen this side of Theory before. I've never seen it. Let's unite. Montez Ford isn't happy. Montez Ford says nothing good happens when Seth Rollins is around. Seth Rollins is, hey, if I was around Saturday, you'd be tag champs right now. And you look at Angelo Dawkins, he's kind of got this look in the face like, he kind of made a point there. So Montez Ford says, you know what? One thing I've never done, I never stabbed my brother in the back. So he says, I am my brother's keeper. So he's still talking a little smack to Seth Rollins. The next thing we know, we got the match. The match that we were kind of afraid was going to happen on Raw, it did. And then what happened afterwards? Oh, I was like, no! Handshake. Oh, my God, that was so... I mean, a couple of fans popped at it, but I was like, no, God. So we now get a video package narrated by Rey Mysterio to hype up Saturday's AAA event. The mask versus mask match obviously being the main event. So now, as I said earlier, Penta bumps into Je'Von. Some nice words exchanged there. Then Penta sees Rey Mysterio. And Rey Mysterio's proud of Penta, proud of his IC title run. Penta would be honored to face Rey Mysterio for the Intercontinental title. And we believe could happen next week. So Rey absolutely accepts. It would be an honor to face you. So Penta goes off and is going to make the match. So we could bring it up now. Later on, Rey Mysterio's with Adam Pearce. And, the match is going to happen. So Ethan Page shows up. And Ethan Page, now, sometimes you got to be a little quick in understanding, like the sarcasm and the sneakiness that Ethan Page does, because some people didn't get it when I'm looking at the reaction stuff online. So Rey's with Adam Pearce, and here comes Ethan Page is like, where's my rematch? Why is he getting a title shot? Where's my rematch? He hasn't earned a title shot. So all of a sudden, Rusev comes in. Rusev is like, what is going on? And Ethan Page is like, I was just telling them, that why is he getting a title shot? You should be getting a title shot. And meanwhile, Ethan Page was talking about himself, but Rusev shows up, and Rusev, he's trying to make Rusev think that, Rusev probably won't watch Monday Night Raw. So next week, I heard what you did, you sneaky bastard. So what happens, because Ethan Page is making it seem like I'm trying to get Rusev a title match, and here's Rey stealing it. So I kick your ass, Rey. I accept. So we get a match with Rey Mysterio and Rusev tonight. Ultimately, Rey Mysterio would beat Rusev. Very competitive match. Very back and forth. Very physical. But in the end, Ethan Page was on commentary. Priceless on commentary. Fun. But in the end, Rey Mysterio would get an abrupt roll-up victory. If you've noticed, they've done that with Rusev multiple times. You've had multiple people who defeat Rusev. You almost think like the storyline is Rusev needs to grow strength in their legs, because Rusev keeps getting abruptly rolled up. That has happened more than once. So Rey gets that tonight. Right after the match is over, Rusev attacks Rey. Ethan Page hits the ring, and here comes Dragon Lee to make the save. Dragon Lee gets a little bit of offense, and, that's pretty much where this is going from here. Yeah, we could end up getting a Rey, Dragon Lee versus Rusev and Ethan Page match down the line. But the point is, yes, Penta will have a match that he's been wanting to have, and that's against Rey. And then you bring back Dragon Lee into the picture. So, Bayley and Lara Vacaria defeated Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez. Dominik Mysterio is at ringside, tried to get involved multiple times. Towards the end of the match, he climbs the ring for a second time. While the referee is distracted, the Mega Championship is put in the ring. So as this is happening, Raquel Rodriguez, and this is where Lara got hurt. Raquel Rodriguez is in the ring with Lara Vacaria. And I'm going one step ahead, but I want to mention this first. And, we always called it the cactus clothesline. back in the day, Cactus Jack Mick Foley would do a clothesline where both him and the wrestler would flip over the top rope. Always loved the way it was done. Sometimes Cactus would flip over the top rope on his own, get his head caught into the ropes, and obviously that's why he lost his ear in Germany. He got his head caught in the ropes, and the ropes were cable, and it was so tight that when they were trying to free it up, there goes the ear. And you see the ear drop too. It looked like a piece of chicken. So, you see a moment where Lyra is going to go over the top rope with Raquel Rodriguez to the outside. And what happens is, as they go over, you could see it, you could hear it, the back of Lyra's leg, like a little bit below her hamstring, hits the edge of the apron, and she goes down, and you knew that son of a bitch hurt. Sometimes wrestlers will get hit a certain way that it doesn't hurt, but you feel it in a spot you didn't expect it to feel. So you know that the visual on TV must have looked worse. So sometimes somebody will land a certain way, feel, a little pain somewhere, like, okay, I hit the edge this way, and they sell it. And that's the beauty of what some people do. CM Punk is awesome at doing that. But when Lyra landed with her hamstring right on the edge of that apron, you knew that shit hurt. So she goes down and her leg is out. Raquel Rodriguez is laid out also. So now you're left with Bayley and Roxanne Perez in the ring. So Dom is on the apron. Dom gets the Mega Championship into the ring. And Dom is kind of like distracting the referee. Bayley and Roxanne Perez are playing tug of war with the belt. So like a bad cartoon, Bayley pushes Roxanne Perez. Let me put it like this. You ever okay, any of you out there when you were younger, you ever play tug of war with your friends? And then you and your friends that are on one side of the team, like, hey, let's be scumbags. While we're pulling, when we count 3, we all let go at the same time. And you watch your friends on the other side of the rope, like fly down the end of the block. Any of you ever do that? It's beautiful. If any of you out there are much younger who should not be tuning into these episodes, if you ever like playing with if any of your friends ever say, let's play tug of war, do it. Do it. And make sure whoever is on your team, at some point, you do like a code. It could be a burp. It could be a trigger word. You say, like, when I say now, we all let go of the rope. And you just watch the people pulling on the other side. All of a sudden, you all let go of the rope and you watch. It's like a bad cartoon. If you really want to do it with dramatic purposes, do it on the edge of a cliff. Just make sure that you're not facing the cliff. Then let it go. And it'll look like a bad Roadrunner cartoon. Poof, you see a plume of smoke. So that's what we had in the ring today. You have Bayley and Roxanne Perez playing tug of war. And Roxanne's pulling and pulling and pulling. And Bayley's like, okay. She lets go and poof. Roxanne Perez flies back against the rope, runs into Dominik. Dominik falls. Roxanne Perez, what did I do? Bayley roll up. Crew roll up, victory. So Bayley goes outside the ring to celebrate, and you could see Lyra's obviously hurt. So my YouTube screen froze. My apologies. I shall reload. I know it didn't interfere with the show, but I shall reload. Give me 1 second. There we go. So Bayley and Lyra get the victory. I don't know where this leads. All I know is we're eating weeks and weeks and weeks with Bayley and Lyra. It doesn't feel like it's going anywhere. I'm a little concerned about that tag team a couple of months from now. And anybody that's ever tuned into my shows know that when we have concerns like this, something usually ends up happening. I don't wish it, but something's going to change. I just don't feel that tag team. I think listen, Bayley popped up in NXT. Bayley's now popping up in AAA. And she had the time of her life in both. And I do believe that's authentic. Absolutely. So it sure feels like they're figuring out more opportunity for Bayley than Lyra. And you would think at this point, Lyra is probably the safer person of the two. Maybe Lyra, no pun intended, could spread her wings and then go solo in the women's division. But I'm a little concerned about this tag team because it sure doesn't feel like they're getting some victories here and there, but it doesn't feel like they're going higher on the food chain. All right, so that's what we had there. Roman, okay, this was dumb too. Roman is in the back with Adam Pearce, and I know you guys saw it. And they're talking about later on with Jacob Fatu. Roman Reigns actually had the audacity or the stupidity, and it's not his fault, this is creative. And go back and watch it if you think I'm exaggerating. Roman Reigns is sitting with Adam Pearce in the back, and Roman says he wasn't even aware that Jacob knew what tribal combat was. What? If you really think about it, just let that sink in. Jacob Fatu, he thought, had no idea what tribal combat was. What did he think? Like, we've watched that for the last bunch of years. Jacob Fatu is your family. Like, I mean, are you going to play a storyline that he was high on coke for a couple of years and had no idea what was going on in wrestling? I had no idea Jacob knew what tribal combat was. Fuck you talking about? Like, it just made no sense. I get it. Fans listen to it like, they'll recap it, but just take a step back. Is like, how is that even possible? It was just dumb, but the LA Knight one is even worse, and the LA Knight one actually happened now. So LA Knight hits the ring. He wishes everyone a happy Memorial Day, respect for the troops. He brings up the Usos and brings up the return of the King and Queen of the Ring tournament. Yes, that is happening. The King and Queen of the Ring tournament is returning. We are having tournament matches next week to see who advances. And LA Knight talks about that tournament. He's putting his name in the hat, and he says that he will win King of the Ring and go on to face the champion, Tribal Chief. Jimmy comes out. Jay's not there tonight. Don't know if Jay was in Cleveland. Don't know. But Jay was not there. Jimmy was there tonight. So Jimmy hits the ring, and he has a confrontation with LA Knight. Now, understand that in storyline, LA Knight is probably closer to Jimmy than anyone else as far as the bloodline goes. So Jimmy comes out and says, we're friends. So he says if LA Knight wins King of the Ring, then LA Knight will get a shot at the Tribal Chief, and it'll be fair. So here's where it just went stupid territory. LA Knight looks at Jimmy and says, fair? Will it really be fair, Jimmy? Let me ask you, are you fair to yourself? LA Knight brings up Jacob Fatu. Was it fair to Jacob? And he says that, when he watched what Roman Reigns was doing with Jacob, here's Jimmy and Jay ready to get involved and make it a 3-on-1. So basically what LA Knight, they're trying to play off is LA Knight is saying to Jimmy, is it really fair? Like, you'll stab me in the back. Like, if I face the Tribal Chief, it's not going to be fair. It's going to be 3-on-1. And he brings up Jacob Fatu, and I'm watching this. I'm like, whoever wrote that really should, be thrown in some type of detention for a couple of weeks. Because in storyline, the reason why Jimmy and Jey Uso got involved with Jacob Fatu is because Jacob Fatu was beating the fuck out of them. When Jimmy was trying to talk some sense into Jacob when he was standing out in the parking lot. Remember? Oos, 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 oos. You can't do the oos. Think about it. Oos, 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 oos. He didn't walk up to Jacob and like, hey, Jacob, hey, listen, you got to think twice about this shit with Roman Reigns. And Jacob's like, shut up, blah, blah, blah. And then Jimmy's like hitting him over the head. Jimmy didn't throw the first punch. Jacob Fatu is the one that's assaulting Jimmy and Jey Uso. So LA Knight's trying to make it seem like it's not 3-on-1, that it's 3-on-1, that it's unfair. But it was Jacob Fatu is the one that threw the first shot. What is he talking about? It was just so dumb. And I know and some people might think, I'm analyzing that. No, I'm not. It's stupid because you're trying to portray this friction and it's based on stupidity. It's almost, you had two segments in a row. Like, it's like, okay, I'm watching Roman Reigns talking to Adam Pearce, and I'm watching LA Knight talking to Jimmy Uso, and And I got like a shot of vodka in this hand and I got pills in this hand. And like Roman Reigns is telling Adam Pearce, I had no idea he was aware what tribal combat was. Jimmy, is it fair to 3-on-1 with Jimmy, with Jacob? Like, come on, man. Like, do I have to drink and take pills for it to make sense? Or, you know, it's just stupid. It's very stupid, man. I know. We treat now the Yeet stuff with the Uso stuff with Jay Uso kind of like when Goldust was doing the Tourette's. That's kind of what it is. Because when Jay used to cut the promos, Oos, you just say something out of, he would just throw ooses out there in sentences that had no business being in there. Like you could picture like him going to a drive-thru and the woman's like, welcome to Burger King, take your order. Yeah, oos. Let me get a oos. Burger with cheese, oos. And let me get some French oos fries, oos, oos, oos. Like, you just like throwing ooses out there for no reason. So, anyway, Jimmy looks at LA Knight and says, Jacob's got nothing to do with you, LA Knight. This is family business. Keep disrespecting the OTC, and our family will become your business. So that's where we're at with this. I honestly think CM Punk will be put in the King of the Ring tournament. That's how they will bring him back to television. LA Knight obviously will be in this tournament as well. I think both of them will probably advance and then maybe ultimately have a match against each other, but that's where we go. So now we get the match, Seth Rollins versus Montez Ford. Now, on the screen right now, I have a picture of Austin Theory and Angelo Dawkins. So how does this all come down? Montez Ford and Seth Rollins had a tremendous match. And yes, I get it. A lot of people were like, did Seth Rollins really need the victory here? Well, you don't want Montez Ford to remind all of us that he should be a solo star, main eventer. WWE still visions him, no pun intended, as a tag team wrestler. So as a tag team wrestler, Montez Ford is at the top. But as a singles wrestler, one hair short. So we get a tremendous match. This is awesome, Chance. Everything is rock solid. Towards the end of the match, Montez Ford misses the 450 splash. Seth Rollins hits the curb stomp and literally just drops his wrist. Just drops his wrist on Montez Ford. Just lays it because Seth is completely exhausted in this match. Gets the victory. So before you could even like get up, here comes on the rampway Austin Theory with another chair. And he's chair bashing the shit out of Angelo Dawkins. He chair bashed Joe Hendry so bad that Joe Hendry may be out for a little while. He chair bashed Angelo Dawkins so bad that Angelo Dawkins could be out for a week or two. We don't know, but it was enough where they were in the back later on and they were concerned. So then we get the point. We talked about it yesterday. I said, please, if there's a creative God out there, I don't want to see this. I don't want to see Montez Ford and Seth Rollins suddenly being kumbaya. We talked about it last night. So what happens? This fucking shit happens. This shit happens. Montez Ford extends his hand to Seth Rollins. He looks at Seth and he's like, you're right. Right now, my brother needs us. Seth Rollins says, us? And Montez Ford extends his hand and says, yes, us. So Seth Rollins shakes his hand, and then Seth Rollins looks at Adam Pearce and he wants Braun Breaker. I hope the fuck they don't have Seth Rollins and Montez Ford defeat Braun Breaker and Austin Theory for those tag team championships. I don't think they would go that way, but man, oh man, if they fucking put the tag titles on Seth and Montez Ford instead of the Street Profits, Angelo Dawkins better start calling some friends and start looking around because I don't think his employment will last all that long. When I saw the handshake, I'm like, oh my God, this is exactly what I was worried about. And now you kind of lay out Angelo Dawkins, and who knows with WWE and their stupid scripted injuries. Angelo Dawkins suffered a herniated blah, 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 bone. Like, and he'll be out for an extended period of time. And I'm like, oh, God, no. Montez Ford wants Austin Theory because of what he did to his brother. Seth Rollins wants Braun Breaker for obvious reasons. So Montez Ford, who wants Austin Theory, and Seth Rollins, who wants Braun Breaker, they team up. And they'll take on both of them. So I'm fearing. I got to fear. I promise you in maybe 3 or 4 days, some of your bigger podcasters out there, the light bulb will go off. And then they'll go on Twitter and say, I have a bad feeling that Montez Ford and Seth Rollins could team up. And God forbid if they wouldn't attack, you'll see 3 or 4 days. And I'll get 18,000 likes on it. And like, I'm a fucking genius. Anyway, as Austin Theory's in the back, Adam Pearce is like, you're out of here tonight. You're done. You've caused too much bullshit tonight. You're out of here. And Austin Theory looks at Adam Pearce, another dumb moment. And Austin Theory's like, was it fair to Braun Breaker? Was it fair to Bronson Reed? Like trying to bring up, like, because of injuries and stuff. And I'm like, what does that have to do with chair bashing the fuck out of Joe Hendry and Angelo Dawkins? But, I guess it was supposed to make sense. So Paul Heyman looks at Adam Pearce like, Adam, you're right. You're right. He definitely is wrong. And I will personally escort Austin Theory out of the building. And then we get the official tease. We've seen it backstage. We've seen it long. You need a magnifying glass, in order to do it. You've seen it multiple times. Now you finally see it center in front of the screen. As Austin Theory walks by with Paul Heyman, you see Alpha Academy with Maxxine Dupri. And Austin Theory and Maxxine Dupri lock eyes. Austin Theory is smiling. Maxxine Dupri is smiling. And, Otis is kind of like baffled by it. And as I'm watching this segment, I'm saying, Otis, do you fucking watch replays of Raw? How many fucking times have they've been in the back talking? You don't ever, bring it up? So he's acting dumbfounded. Akira Tozawa is just probably saying to himself, thank God I still have a job here. So Maxxine Dupri walks off, and she's like, it's not what you think. But yeah, I kind of think that Maxxine Dupri is going to be joining the Vision. I think you need a fucking female in that group, and I sure feel like they're doing it. So, yeah, that's coming. That is coming. Becky Lynch is in the back with Kathy Kelly, and Becky's confident on Saturday. She does her whole shtick, and then with the very choreographed lines, Sol Ruka has not had a clean win since coming to Raw. Sol's name is written in the sand, but a tidal wave is coming. She's confident she'll win at Clash in Italy. So now we get the main event. We had Ray Rusev, but we talked about it earlier. We get the main event of the night, which is not a match. It's a contract signing. So Jacob Fatu comes out first. He's uncontrollable. He's throwing tables around. Officials are trying to get him calmed down. Roman's not even in the rampway yet. So all of a sudden, Roman's music hits. He walks down slowly. You could go make a hot pocket, take a shit, go for a walk, come back, and Roman will ultimately enter the ring. Roman goes in the ring and signs the contract. So Roman is in the ring with Jacob Fatu. And Roman is talking about how Jacob, wasn't that easy? Wasn't that easy? All you had to do was just acknowledge me, and things would have been so much easier at Backlash. So they started doing some back and forth. So, here's where I kind of got a little annoyed with Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu gets on the mic, and they should have gone the route that Roman Reigns is selfish. But Jacob Fatu gets on the mic and starts talking about, what Roman has done for everyone. that everybody is where they're at because of Roman. And I honestly thought Jacob was going to turn around and start bringing up Roman is selfish, this, and that, and that's why this and this. So, Jacob looks at Roman and says, acknowledge you? Nah, dog, not acknowledging you. And then he praises Roman. And I immediately had flashbacks to the final confrontation with CM Punk and Roman Reigns for WrestleMania, where you had this big anger leading up to Mania, and literally the week of WrestleMania is where CM Punk apologizes to the Usos, or apologizes to Roman also for what he said about his family. Talks about Sika. Talks about, the Samoans. And CM Punk is, praising Roman Reigns. He hates him because of what Roman had. And I'm like, my God, stop with this sign of affection and respect right before you're going to beat the fuck out of each other. And they did it again tonight. So Jacob gets on the mic, and Jacob he pretty much acknowledged Roman. By saying what he said, he acknowledged Roman. But Jacob says, there's no denying what you've done for our family, but it's time for a change. And then Jacob says, which I thought was very revealing. Jacob says, I'm going to still be here after Clash in Italy. And pretty much going along with, because Roman Reigns has said, there's got to be consequences. That if Jacob loses, he's got to listen. He's got to fall in line. He's got to, as Roman said tonight, I'm going to walk you like a dog. I'm going to domesticate you. How many times back in the old DTKC days we used to talk about domesticating the Undertaker, domesticating this, domesticating that? Roman Reigns said to Jacob Fatu, if you win, you're tribal chief. If you win, no question. But if I win, I'm going to domesticate you. I'm going to walk you like a dog. You're going to clean your act up, and you'll learn to love me. You'll love your tribal chief. So that's what we had tonight. And Jacob, was showing respect to Roman. And then you got this thing where, I guess with tribal combat, now I have not looked back to Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns, or Jey Uso and Roman Reigns. I have to look back to the go-home shows for those two events where they fought tribal combat. I don't recall if they had a brawl right before tribal combat. But I honestly, listen, if Roman could say, I had no idea Jacob knew what tribal combat is, I had no idea that part of tribal combat is that you don't touch each other like 6 days before. I honestly don't recall 8,000 years ago when the Samoans didn't fucking really speak at all and they just climbed trees and fucking ate raw fish for a living, that when the ancestors came up with tribal combat and they came up with these really religious rules, I don't remember them saying that one of the religious rules was, no touching 6 days before. Like, you would say that to two virgins that are about to get married. Like, no touching until wedding night. Like, I just don't recall the ancestors saying that, no touching each other 7 days before. But that's what we had tonight. Roman tells Adam Pearce and his security, leave the ring. He said tribal combat. He knows we can't touch each other for 6 days. So there's no touching. But they touched. They went forehead to forehead. I know I'm being nitpicking, but no touching. They touched. I mean, no touching is no touching. If a cop says to you, don't touch me, or if an umpire says to you to Major League Baseball, don't touch me, and you're just like, boop, with your forehead, I think you get thrown out of the game. I think you get arrested if you touch a cop. No touching means no touching. They disrespected the ancestors tonight. But we only touch their heads. Doesn't matter. No touching is no touching. So the segment was good, but after all of this savagery the desperation that Jacob Fatu has expressed, feed his family, take care of himself, take care of, set his family for the future, straightening things out, blah, 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 this, and that, him beating the shit out of Jimmy, beating the shit out of Jay, having brawls with Roman, tribal combat, the worst of the worst. Then tonight, all right, if the ancestors insist no true touching, okay, we'll allow this, but get on the mic and show respect. Roman, there's no denying what you've done for our family, that you're the reason why we have what we have. What? Or our family has what they have. I don't know, man. It gave me the CM Punk Roman Reigns vibes. Doesn't mean that Roman Reigns and CM Punk didn't have a match of the year candidate. The match was awesome, but it took a little bit of the air out of the balloon. Like, you have all this friction leading up to Mania. Just imagine. I'm not trying to be out of touch here, but just imagine if anybody remembers WrestleMania 5 when Hogan fought Savage. Anybody remember the commercials? The Mega Powers explode. Remember? Poof, explosion. Just imagine the week before, Macho Man looking at Hulk Hogan going, I respect you. There's no denying what you've done for this. Like, come on, man. I like Hulk Hogan cutting a promo with Mean Gene right before the match with Macho Man. Well, let me tell you something, brother. I think that Macho Man, and you give him compliments. It's just dumb. It's like bad Star Trek movies. No sign of respect before you fucking gonna beat the fuck out of someone. Does anybody just stay like angry? Anybody stay in complete bitch mode? Complete period mode? Does anybody stay in complete psycho mode right up to the fucking match in WWE? How is it that always a week before two people like you won't see it in AAA, thank God. You will not see a promo this week from Gable or Kaiser. I respect you and what you have done for the Lucha Libre, blah, 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 but I'm going to take your mask anyway. Like, you're not going to see that dumb shit. But for some reason with WWE, and that's been for a while. That angers me because I want unhinged, uncontrollable, savaged Jacob Fatu to go to Italy. Even though he said by any means necessary, but you showed compassion tonight. A true psycho, a true killer, a true savage, desperate. You show no compassion. You do whatever it takes to get what you want, get what you need. So that's how we finished Raw tonight. They literally touched each other. And they shook hands too. I let the forehead go, but you touched hands. You shook hands. That's touching. See, I told you, my Saudi Arabia, Mexican, and Samoan impersonations all sound the same. So that was Monday Night Raw tonight. All righty, let me clear out a whole bunch of these photos. So let's get into predictions. We definitely have a couple of audio clips to share. Let me pull up the thumbnails for Clash in Italy. Give me 1 second. Here we go. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, here we go. All right, so Clash in Italy. As we said, ESPN gets the first hour. Starts at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, 1 p.m. Oh my God, I'm still getting it wrong. 11 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern. That's right. And 8 p.m. Italy time. So the two matches that you could watch for free on ESPN is going to be Rhea Ripley versus Jade Cargill and Gunther challenging Cody Rhodes for the undisputed WWE Championship. So we will do the matches in order, even though obviously Roman Reigns Tribal Combat will be the last match of the night. But I kind of want to save Oba Femi versus Brock Lesnar last for the predictions. So, Rhea Ripley defending the WWE Women's Championship against Jade Cargill. If you heard my Saturday night's main event predictions, you already know this. I'm not mentioning it to brag. I'm mentioning it to make a point. I said that for Saturday night's main event, Jade Cargill had to pin Rhea Ripley. I think you had to make that statement that she just pinned the champion. And that explains the justification for this title match at Clash in Italy. And sure enough, Saturday night's main event did exactly what I thought it would, even though Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair, and Alexa Bliss were the favorites to win. Jade Cargill did win. She pinned Rhea Ripley, and it sets up the title match for Clash in Italy. Right now, the betting odds have Rhea Ripley as the favorite at minus 300. Jade Cargill is at plus 220, which means Rhea Ripley right now has a 70% chance of winning. And I truthfully believe Rhea Ripley will get the victory here. Rhea Ripley will retain the championship. I did a little research about Jade Cargill's matches since last year. And this is after Bianca Belair. Because remember, you had the whole storyline with the Naomi stuff and everything. But here's what I found very interesting. For the most part, Jade Cargill, with the exception of Tiffany Stratton, and obviously WrestleMania, she doesn't lose singles matches all that much. She lost one match last year to Nia Jax. All right, she lost to Rhea Ripley, but on the house show circuit, she lost multiple times to Tiffany Stratton. And a lot of those matches were three ways. It was Nia versus Tiffany versus Jade. And many times Tiffany Stratton pinned Nia Jax. This is when Tiffany Stratton was still the women's champion. Jade does not lose too many matches. So I don't think she loses any credibility whatsoever by having two losses in a row, title matches, I should say, against Rhea Ripley. She got a victory on Saturday. So in the midst of these two losses is a pinfall victory, but there was no titles on the line. I think the win on Saturday was to give the suspension of disbelief that Jade Cargill just pinned the champion. She did it once. She could do it again. But I don't think she'll do it again on Saturday. So I'm going with Rhea Ripley to retain the championship. I do think Jade Cargill will regain the women's championship at some point. I think this year is still a possibility. She's still growing. I mean, you know, I understand she's been in WWE now for a little while, but there's still a growing process. I mean, think about it. Isn't Sol Ruka like in WWE longer than Jade Cargill has? I mean, Sol says she's been doing this 4 years. Jade has not been in the WWE for 4 years. Plus, she's had some injuries. I mean, I'm not trying to compare the two, but Jade Cargill is being positioned that once it's all put together and she has stability like Rhea or Bianca or some others, Charlotte, Becky, Bayley, not too long ago, Sasha, when Jade gets to that level, there's no turning back. But she's not at that level yet. And having Meechin and B-Fab in her group is kind of like to not keep all of the focus on Jade alone. So this does not hurt Jade in any way. And who knows? You could get clusterfuck. I don't think we'll see Charlotte and Alexa getting involved. I don't think they should. I mean, but then again, if you could have Meechin and B-Fab at ringside, you know, maybe Io Sky shows up. Maybe Io Sky kind of neutralizes B-Fab and Meechin. But I'm going with Rhea Ripley to retain the championship. Now, I did not want to do this match so early. If it was up to me, I would have probably done this match either last or next to last. Because I think this is the hardest match to predict. And this is Cody Rhodes defending the undisputed WWE Championship against Gunther. Right now, Cody Rhodes, get a load of this. Right now in the betting world, Cody is at minus 125 and Gunther is at minus 115, which means Cody has a 51% chance of winning. That is the closest you could get without it being a complete toss-up. That's how undecided the betting world and the wrestling world is about this one. I personally think it's time for Cody Rhodes to lose this championship. I personally think if you're going to have CM Punk show, the only way you have Gunther losing this title match is if CM Punk ends up on SmackDown and CM Punk feuds with Cody Rhodes for that championship. And even that, I kind of don't like because CM Punk just had a tremendous run. I know the original circumstances were kind of skewed because of Seth Rollins' injury, but still, CM Punk did a beautiful job with the championship. I don't think CM Punk should be fighting in a feud for a championship this quickly. So if it was up to me, I would absolutely have Gunther defeat Cody Rhodes to become the undisputed WWE champion. I try to look one step further. I don't think Sami Zayn versus Cody Rhodes is the answer for the championship. I don't think CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes for the championship is the answer. I don't think Royce Keys, I don't think anybody right now should be next in line for the championship. You could do a shitload with Gunther as the champion, and remember, Night of Champions is coming up, and there's no titles on the line. So who faces who at Night of Champions? If Roman Reigns retains the World Heavyweight Championship, Roman Reigns is going to face somebody in Saudi Arabia. Does he face Cody Rhodes? Which is a match that people, I think, would have loved to see happen again. Or does Roman Reigns face Gunther? We talked about it yesterday, and it gained a lot of traction, and a lot of people agree with what I said. WWE wants to do Roman Reigns versus Gunther, but having it for a world championship doesn't seem in the cards because I don't see Roman Reigns being a world champion going into WrestleMania 43, excuse me. So if you're not going to have Roman Reigns hold the championship going into next year, how are you going to do Roman versus Gunther for the title? SummerSlam? I don't know about that. A lot of people think it's going to be Roman versus Seth Rollins at SummerSlam. So I'm starting to think if you're going to do Night of Champions and Roman is going to have to face someone, I think you do Gunther there. I think that's the place to do it because there's no title on the line. So you could go whichever way you want. You could have Gunther win. You could have Roman win. Fuck, you could have CM Punk show up and just lay out both of them in Saudi Arabia. We don't know. I mean, that's their job to do it. But I personally think it's time for Cody Rhodes to drop that title. People were a little bit surprised that he retained the title. A lot of people thought Randy was going to win that championship at Mania, and he did not. So you start thinking to yourself, okay, where do you go from here? And I just feel that something is lacking big with Cody as champion right now. I'm not saying turn him heel. I'm not saying that at all. He's still, an insane moneymaker with merch and is still the number one guy in that company. I would give Gunther the championship. And I'm going to go with Gunther to defeat Cody Rhodes. It wouldn't surprise me if Cody retains, but I think you're doing this on the first hour of ESPN. There's got to be a shock victory there. You don't want just two matches, two title defenses to go down for the first hour of ESPN. There's got to be a hook. There's got to be something that feels bigger. And Cody retaining over Gunther doesn't feel as big than Gunther defeating the champion for the first hour of ESPN, especially because of the first hour of ESPN. I feel like you got to do a title change to drag the people in because, wow, if Cody lost, maybe Roman's going to lose it. Or, I mean, I get it. I don't think, non-wrestling fans are going to be, I must see. No, but I think having a shock value for the first hour of ESPN is kind of the pull. It's kind of like what some people do on YouTube with the clickbait titles. The clickbait thumbnails. There's some people that are massive. There's some people in the wrestling world that admit to doing clickbait. All right? It is what it is. But I honestly think, having a big grab for the first hour of ESPN hook, I think having a title change is a very big way to doing it. And I think Gunther is going to defeat Cody Rhodes and become the new undisputed WWE champion. So we'll see. We shall see. So next, now we have the main show. Becky Lynch defending the Intercontinental Championship against Sol Ruca. And I look at it like this. They gave AJ Lee the run because she came back. Nostalgia. Just like they gave belts to Brie Bella and Paige. Nostalgia. Give them the belt. Once WrestleMania was done, as was AJ Lee's title reign, as was AJ Lee. Doesn't mean that she can't return again. AJ Lee, they don't want to do the retire Brock Lesnar type thing. I'm retired till I'm retired. With AJ Lee, it's bye for now, but not forever. If they can use me, that's AJ Lee's kind of making it seem like it's up to WWE if I'm back. But that's not really the case. AJ Lee, it was the agreement was for a limited time. This was never supposed to be years. In this case here, it feels like, and I'm not trying to say this, but in a way, Becky Lynch was a transitional champion to get to Sol Ruca. I think they want Sol Ruca as a champion sooner than later. I've said it many times. I think Oba Femi will not be world champion anytime soon. They're going to take their time with that. I don't think Trick Williams will be world champion in the immediate future. They will take their time with it. I think Sol Ruca getting this belt, and it's not even the women's world championship. Liv Morgan has that. So I think Sol Ruca is going to get the victory. I think the whole storyline from the beginning was she fumbles a little bit on Raw. Oh, it's a botch. And then she fumbles again. Oh, she's a little too overzealous. Becky gets a little comfortable, rubs it in Sol Ruca's face. Hey, how's about you fight me at Saturday night's main event? Becky's like laughing, like, you kidding me? You should be back in NXT. Yeah, I'll fight you, but I'm not putting no title on the line. So what happens? Becky is not expecting what she got at Saturday night's main event, takes the chicken shit way out. Sol Ruca gets a victory, justifies the title shot. Becky Lynch is scared shit, but Becky Lynch, because of her character and because of who she is, she's got to, at the end of the day, be confident. And she's convinced that, that Sol hasn't had a clean victory yet. So Becky is still confident. And I think this is going to lead to Sol Ruca becoming the champion. I think they want to put the Jets behind Sol Ruca immediately. It'll be pretty fucking interesting to see where they go with this. I don't know if Sol Ruca would wrestle at Night of Champions. You can't have every title defended at Night of Champions. But I think Becky Lynch giving this rub to Sol Ruca is tremendous. I have said for a long time that Charlotte Flair was the top wrestler, women's wrestler of the last 20 years. And then the last couple of years, I've changed that to Becky Lynch. I thought Asuka could have been it, but Asuka, there was, obviously the verbiage was missing. She could do, like her catchphrases and, the other things, but there was obviously a little bit missing there. Charlotte, I always thought for years, was the number one woman. I think Becky Lynch has overcome that because Becky Lynch has helped several young stars help bring them to the next level, Tiffany Stratton being one of them. I think Becky Lynch has helped a lot in a very unselfish way. So I think Becky Lynch giving this rub to Sol Ruca is one of the biggest compliments that Sol Ruca could get right now in the WWE. Having a title, won over Becky Lynch is a much bigger moment than Sol Ruca defeating Liv Morgan. Nothing against Liv Morgan, but Liv Morgan is still lower on that food chain. I'm going with Sol Ruca to get this victory. And I think Becky will be frustrated, get a rematch, then you see where it goes from here with Sol Ruca. Understand, too, that you don't have a plethora of women's wrestlers on Raw that could fight for this championship because you have two champions. You have Liv and you got Sol. So you start pulling away your Stephanie Vicares and your Becky Lynches, and you don't, that level of talent drops. Io Sky obviously is still up there, but I don't know what they're going to do with Io Sky for the immediate future. There's definitely some women, but I think Sol Ruca is the one. I'm going to go with Sol Ruca to win this women's championship. I think you'd have at least one women's title change go down on this show. So now we're left with Roman versus Jacob Tribal Combat, and we have Brock versus Oba. I should have said this. Becky Lynch right now, her odds are minus 180. She is the favorite to retain the title at 61%. Excuse me, at 58%. Sol Ruca right now is at plus 140, which is 42%. That's currently the betting odds. So Becky Lynch is still a favorite. I'm shocked because Saturday night's main event also, Becky was the favorite, and I thought Sol Ruca was a lock. So once again, that's what they're doing. So now we have Roman Reigns versus Jacob Fatu. Right now, Roman Reigns is the overwhelming favorite to win at minus 700. Jacob Fatu is at plus 400, which means Roman Reigns has an 83% chance of winning. I don't think there's any question at all. Jacob Fatu is awesome. And Jacob Fatu does have a big fan base still. Fans pop at a lot of stuff that he says. It feels real. If you notice, Jacob Fatu doesn't trash the WWE fans. He'll make some remarks like tonight. Nah, be like everyone else and acknowledge you. Nah. That's not necessarily shitting on the WWE universe. So that's an interesting aspect to this. I think Roman Reigns retains. People still are with will Zilla Fatu show up? Will this person show up? I mean, there's no question you can have involvement here. I don't think you have a debut in Italy. I mean, it's bad enough that you would have someone debut that the casual WWE, everyday WWE fan is not familiar with for all that much. I could see doing that in Florida for Backlash because Zilla Fatu has more of a presence in Florida. Doing that in Italy. And I don't think anybody there is going to even have an idea who he is. You might get like 10 people out of 1,000. I personally would not have anybody debut in Italy. I think that would be a farce. I don't know who will get involved. The Usos could very likely get involved. Could Jacob Fatu have backup? I don't think Jacob Fatu wants backup. I think this could very well end up being one-on-one. Especially when you think of the stupidity that they did with LA Knight tonight on Raw. Like, could you imagine if the Usos do get involved and the promos we would have to hear from LA Knight the following week, 2 days later? I don't want to see that. You're going to have qualifying matches go down in Italy next week for King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring. So if LA Knight wrestles next week, you don't want reason for him to justify what he was accusing of Jimmy Uso. I don't think they want to turn the Usos heel. And I don't think they want to turn LA Knight heel. So it's kind of like a whole lot of nothing. What LA Knight's been saying with the Usos is a whole lot of nothing. So Roman Reigns is going to retain. I don't think there's any question. Plus, what do you do with Jacob Fatu after this? Is he remain on Raw? Does he go back to SmackDown? Like, you think about it. Like, where do we go from here? Personally, I'd rather leave him on Raw. I think that there's more you can do, but you also feel like Solo Sikoa and, Tamatonga and Talatonga, there's something lacking massively now. They released 2 of the MFTs. So you almost feel like you kind of have to balance it out a little bit more, but Roman Reigns is going to retain. I don't think there's any question with it. And that leaves us the match that I think people are the most baffled about, and that's Oba Femi versus Brock Lesnar 2. I think when Triple H threw that number 2 there, I think he gave away the victory. He gave away the winner. I am probably way off on this one. This is predictions. This is not my sources tell me. I think we are going into SummerSlam. I think there will be a third match. I think the fact that they're putting a number 2 on that, yes, it's a rematch. And yes, they'll want you to think it's the biggest rematch that WWE's ever had. But I kind of feel that by doing 2, you could do 3. It kind of feel like if you're just going to do a rematch, you do a rematch. We've had tons of rematches in recent years. Like putting a number next to something, you're emphasizing more of the number than the match itself, in my honest opinion. And right now, Brock Lesnar is the favorite at minus 200. Oba Femi is the underdog at plus 150, which means Brock Lesnar has a 62% chance of winning. And after much thought, I am going with Brock Lesnar to win. I don't think it'll be as clear-cut as we believe. I hope it goes 6 to 8 minutes. Many people are fearing that Brock is just going to show up and just beat the balls out of Oba even before the bell starts. And that's somehow how Brock is going to secure the victory here. I don't want this to be a 2-minute squash. I don't want a stupid extra circumstance. I think Oba Femi, he doesn't lose anything by losing this match. All right. I like the fact that he could get a loss this soon because I don't think WWE wants the Goldberg comparisons. Goldberg had his streak in WCW. Asuka had a streak in NXT, and many people have fun with that. I don't think they want people to start accumulating numbers where Oba, he's now 12-0, 14-0, 16-0. And you know why I say that? Because WWE hasn't done that. How many wins has Oba Femi had on the main roster? Do you have any idea? Has WWE ever said it? The answer is no. So I think the fact that they have not reminded us of how many wins tells me they're not interested in streaks with Oba Femi. They're interested about the overall package. And I think Oba cut a promo tonight on Raw and said that this is the final chapter. And I think in doing that, it's going to be the opposite because now Oba has a victory, Brock has a victory, and then it'll probably be Oba Femi that'll call out Brock multiple times. You have a victory. I have a victory. You have a victory. Let's do it one more time. SummerSlam. And it's in Minnesota. Now, the funny thing is, people keep saying, oh, Brock, his final match, where he was born. No, that's not true. Go look up Brock Lesnar's history. Brock Lesnar actually, was born in a different area altogether. He ended up going to Minnesota later on, but that's not his hometown. But having him have a last match, I don't think it's a last match. Again, like I said earlier, I think the way that they're doing this right now, that the perception is Brock is retired. But if a money match comes up in the future, whether it's against Roman, whether it's against this person, if it's Saudi Arabia, if it's WrestleMania next year, then Brock could always come out of retirement. You pulled me out of retirement. I'm still retired, but I'm coming back. I think that's what this is going to be. I think you're going 3. I think you are going 3. So I am absolutely going to go with Brock Lesnar to win this match. I think it'll be, I have a feeling it's going to be some special circumstances, maybe a low blow, maybe he'll get F5 through a table before the match even starts, but there's going to be something where Oba, it's not going to be a clean pin where, wow, Oba did the job, wow. No, I think this is going to be a little extra to this, and that's going to leave Oba with a bad taste in his mouth. I know I said this was the final chapter, but, we have to have one more. And I think they'll do 3, and that's where, as of right now, I think Oba will get the 3rd victory. That's where I'm going with this. That's what I think this will be. I'm going with Oba Femi to get that victory. So, all right, let's start speeding this up a little bit. Before I give you predictions for AAA, I wanted to share with you 2 audio clips. And I also wanted to ask everybody a question a little bit later about this lady. I don't know if I could say young lady, but the AAA president, we're going to have some fun a little bit later on. I promise you it will not be sick and perverted, but I actually am curious about something. And I even have some video footage of her from 1983. So I just went down a rabbit hole today that I think you probably would all get a kick out of. Maybe we'll finish the show talking about her. So we'll see. We'll see. But first, I wanted to share with you 2 very quick audio clips. First of all, John Cena appeared on Rich Eisen. I enjoyed the interview more than I thought I would. John Cena was asked about the John Cena Classic. It's interesting because if you listen closely, John Cena did not answer Rich Eisen's question. Rich Eisen didn't say to John Cena, how'd they come up with this idea? No, he asked John Cena, is there anything new to add? And John Cena's like, I'm glad you asked. And then John Cena proceeds to tell us where he came up with the idea. That's not what Rich Eisen asked. But still, I like the answer. It's short, but I think you'll appreciate this. This is what John Cena said on how they came up with the idea of the John Cena Classic. Listen to the last part of it, of how, and now we know it's official, somebody will be champion or could be champion even if they lost.
What can you tell everybody about any latest on the Classic that you just referred to, John?
Man, I can tell you I'm pumped, and I can tell you this is an idea from me, and I can also tell you that this is going to get a lot of chatter too, because the audience is kind of every which way but loose on this. Mm-hmm. I got the idea from that last event, that Saturday night's main event, where Gunther and I were the close of the show. But the idea for the open of the show and the way I wanted to promote it was, instead of doing a 90-minute tribute showing highlights and interviews of folks to essentially my career, there's no pay it forward there. So I chose to use the rest of the evening as showcasing marquee superstars as a way to get crowds in the building and keep them excited. You hear the music of your favorite superstar, that's great. And pair them up against the future of our business. Names like Ruka, Je'Von Evans, and certainly Oba Femi, they all kind of debuted on our grand stage that night. And I thought the event went well. Not only was it well received by the audience, sans from my part the ending, which is okay because I'm the polarizing guy. I can bear the weight on my shoulders. When I promoted it, people enjoyed the idea. When we executed it, people enjoyed the event. And more importantly, the talent. It's not like the talent aren't excited for an event, but the talent felt like they were part of something new, and that was really important. So I got the idea from there, and then I kind of wanted to extend it a little bit more. I'm like, how can we involve the fan base? So that's where the fan vote came from. And then I tried to take it a little bit further and saying that, like, man, if you're a talent and you go out and you actually tear the house down, but you're this close to winning and maybe you came up short, you still have the opportunity to be in the running to see if you won the fan vote enough to be crowned champion.
So I honestly think that's very reasonable of what he said. So this is pretty much what John Cena talking about the John Cena Classic and the origins of it. Now, another one I wanted to share with you, and I guarantee you, if you look around the newswire, you've seen this multiple areas. And I'm sorry that I'm using this thumbnail, but there's a reason why I'm using this thumbnail. Dominik Mysterio, Gunther, Charlotte Flair, all 3 of them appeared on a show what's the name of the podcast? The Main Event Club. Now, this is an overseas podcast. I think it originates in India or Pakistan, but, it's funny because, there's a lot of podcasters out there that are a little annoyed that these guys got Charlotte, Dominik, and Gunther all on one episode. Granted, the interviews are 5 minutes long. You watch it, you almost feel like maybe they paid a few dollars to get them on the show. But the Newswire is all over something that Gunther said. And this is a perfect example as to why you should always listen to an interview instead of just reading wrestling news sites. Because if you have read the Newswire, you have seen people reporting, and I have the article right here. Gunther was asked to rank wrestlers that he most wanted to retire. Okay? They wanted Gunther to rank from 1 to 5 the wrestlers he wanted to retire. And people put out this list. I don't want to say the list because I'll let you hear it from Gunther himself. It's only about a minute and a half long. But the reason why I'm sharing this clip with you is because, actually, I'll tell you the list. Gunther said at number 5, CM Punk. Number 4, Rey Mysterio. Number 3, Randy Orton. Number 2, Brock Lesnar. And number 1, Sheamus. Now, that's a very intriguing list, especially when you think about Sheamus being number 1. What all of these news sites didn't tell you is that the hosts themselves picked the names, and then Gunther had to rank them 1 to 5. So when you read wrestling news sites and they're telling you Gunther chooses his top 5 of who he wants to retire, understand he didn't pull those names out. The hosts gave him those names and said, rank these from 5 to 1. Much bit different, right? I'll let you hear for yourself. Here you go.
We're going to do now a blind ranking of from 1 to 5 of WWE superstar you would most like to retire in a title versus career match.
Okay.
Number 1, Randy Orton.
3, I think.
Sheamus.
1.
Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, he's 2.
Okay.
So the thing is, like, Brock is for publicity. He's perfect. But Sheamus, that's a personal matter that I was sending. That they want to retire him.
You already told this to him?
No.
Okay. Rey Mysterio?
Yeah, I take him on the 4.
So the last one is CM Punk.
Oh,
CM Punk? He's got to go on 5 now, right? But I mean, but objectively, they will all be good choices. So
Okay.
yes. You Shimon said a great battle at Clash at the Castle some years ago. So
yes, so
it would be a great match.
Sheamus was my first on the main roster. Sheamus was my first really big opponent, and he made my life hell. He beat me up a lot, so he made me earn it. So I hope I can kick his ass on the way out.
I actually like their podcast. I didn't have any issue with the hosts at all. They're not the ones that clickbaited like the Newswire is. So when you look at every wrestling news site out there that's writing this right now and they say Gunther lists his top 5 of who he wants to retire, or Gunther that's why I wanted you to hear it. He didn't pick those 5 names. The hosts picked the names and told him to rank it. That is much different. Like if somebody says to me right now, hey, DT, rank in order, which is your favorite food? Let's see. Siberian, Japanese, Indian, Chinese, and I don't know, Polish. And I turn around and I say Chinese food. And then people are like, wow, Don Tony, Italian, his favorite food is Chinese. You picked the fucking 5 categories. You told me to rank them in order. It was up to me. None of those foods would be on my fucking list. It'd be Mexican, Italian, Spanish. Yeah. So when you read that story and everybody's talking about it, this is why you got to sometimes listen to the interviews, because it's nothing like what's being reported. Again, nothing against the host. They did a great job. I thought for 15 minutes, they had a fun conversation with Dom, Charlotte, and Gunther. So I think some hosts are probably just angry that they got them on there. So I just wanted to share it. All right. So I think that leaves us with AAA. As we talked about almost a month ago, Rey Mysterio was the front runner to become the general manager of AAA, and he was announced as the GM. Immediately, this spells the slow burn to the beginning of the end of Dominik Mysterio as the mega champion. Obviously, Dominik is going to make his son have a little bit of a hard time maintaining that championship, and all roads lead to obviously TripleMania. The thing is, do you have El Grande Americano, a.k.a. Ludwig Kaiser, a.k.a. Marcel Bartel? Do you wait all the way to September to have him dethrone Dominik as the champion? Or do you have it happen sooner? Now, the Noches de Grandes that's happening this Saturday, understand that this is an event that airs multiple weeks. I kind of compare it to like NXT when they do like week 1 and week 2 of a special event that airs on CW. These matches that are taking place for Noches de los Grandes is airing on, their regular television. This is not a pay-per-view, so to speak. So, understand that as we go into this. Now, yes, it's very surprising you're doing mask versus mask for an event like this. The thing is that it's happening at Arena Monterrey in Monterrey, Nuevo León, Mexico. That's a nice building. And I'm sure it's probably going to sell out 15,000 seats. Now, obviously, the ticket prices are dramatically lower than the United States, but they will still make a very comfortable amount of coinage coming out of this. And again, this is mask versus mask. And right now, Kaiser is Teflon. Especially, even though it's careless, especially that narrative that people now believe that in his apartment building, some white guy from Florida tells Ludwig Kaiser, show a little manners, otherwise I'm going to call ICE on your fucking bitch. Now just imagine the climate of ICE. Just imagine everyday Americans who hate ICE. Now just imagine deportations, and you think of countries who were deported, and you think of Mexicans. That's why, again, as much as I love Rajiri and respect what he does, I don't care who the fuck told. I don't care if Jesus Christ came down on the cross and said, hey, somebody walked into one of my churches and gave a confession and said that, this guy, Richard Reed walked into his fucking church in Orlando and says, look, I have a confession to make. I told this guy that I was going to deport his fucking bitch, Latino girlfriend. And I want to say 10 Hail Marys and be done with it. And fucking Jesus came down on the cross and told Rajiri. You fucking put that narrative out there that some white guy in Florida is telling someone he's going to call ICE and have him deported. You're just causing rage. You don't mention shit like that, especially when you're getting it from third-person information. You didn't get it from Kaiser. You didn't get it from Bazarte. Didn't get it from Kaiser's lawyer. Didn't get it from Richard Reed himself. I don't care who the fuck told you that. You don't put that out there because that is just not a good way to go. So the bottom line is Kaiser looks like a hero right now, and he's going to become mega champion. Question is when. And right now, one of the ideas is that Ray will make Dirty Dom defend the mega championship on both nights of TripleMania. He will have one title defense, probably in the United States. If it happens in Vegas, if it happens in California, maybe Dom defended. I'm not saying it against Ray, but Dom will defend it against somebody that is probably more of a United States WWE guy. And then you do Mexico, El Grande Americano, night 2, Dominik Mysterio. It's their WrestleMania. So as of right now, they are discussing Dominik fighting both nights of TripleMania. That's if they wait until TripleMania. So now we get to obviously Saturday. And then we'll wrap up with a little lighthearted fun. We'll have a little lighthearted fun about Marisela Peña, the very talked about president of Lucha Libre, AAA Worldwide. You know, yes, we will go there. And no, we're not going to ask the question, is it a wig? Yes, I do believe it's a wig. I absolutely do think it's a wig. But one of the things I'm curious is, would you take her out for coffee? All right, we'll say it like that. And how old do you think she is? Because those two questions, that's a big topic of discussion. So I've done a little research, and I think I figured out how old she is. And we'll have some lighthearted fun. It's not going to be disrespectful, I promise you that. And again, I have a clip of her from 1983 that I guarantee you no one has seen. But, you know, you're not gonna criticize it. But first, let's get into the predictions for the 4 matches. Now, I will tell you that next week, we do have a 6-woman tag match that Bayley will be on. So when we get into next week's card, we will do that one there. And then after that, we'll get into a couple of super shout outs and we'll call it. But there is a picture that I have to pull up. I did not save it in this computer, and if I don't do this show and at least show this picture, it will not do justice to Marisela Peña conversation. So I found it. Oh, thank God. Thank God the image came right up. Please don't let it be that fucking, the WEB, the webpage file format. I think we can show that. I think, yes, we can. Can we? Good. Okay. Whew. That was quick. That was easy. Sounds like my sex life. All right. So let's get into the matches for Saturday. There is only 3. Obviously, we have Mask versus Mask. We'll do that one last, even though it's probably the most predictable one of them all. We have Laredo Kid defending the Cruiserweight Championship against Rey Fénix. I know a lot of people would love to see Penta and Rey Fénix both hold singles titles at the same time, but I honestly think because of a different match that is airing this weekend as well, I don't think we will have 2 title changes go down, let alone 3. So I think this is going to be an awesome match. I think Laredo Kid will squeak this one out. I think down the line, fans are waiting for Penta and Rey Fénix to team up again. I mean, obviously, WWE has not pushed that narrative. That is something that fans really want to see. I think that they're going to hold out a little bit longer and maybe lead it into TripleMania if they want to do that. I mean, they've had interaction before, no question. But I think here, this is one of those matches where you get a little WWE crossover with AAA, and this is going to be an amazing match for the Mexican wrestling fans. But I don't see Rey Fénix winning this championship and being more of a regular on AAA television. So I'm going Laredo Kid to retain the title here. Now, a match that I do think we're going to get a title change. This is El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. Oh, and by the way, Laredo Kid right now is the favorite to retain at minus 250. Rey Fénix is the underdog at plus 225, which means that Laredo Kid has a 69% chance of retaining the title. Right now, you have El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. defending the Latin American Championship against El Hijo del Vikingo. Right now, El Hijo del Vikingo is the favorite to win at minus 200, which equates to a 63% chance of winning. El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. has right now the odds at plus 150, which is a 37% chance of keeping his belt. I agree with those odds. I think you have to start pushing Vikingo a little bit more. He paid the sins for Patron. Alberto Patron, he paid for the sins. Many people feel unfair. It's unfair. El Hijo del Vikingo was supposed to be the poster child baby face of AAA under WWE's regime. And it didn't work out that way. At some point, you have to start cashing in a little bit further. Doesn't mean that he's been jobbed out along the way, but I think having him win this championship is a nice way to rebound a little bit, especially when he has Dorian Roldan in his corner. I am going with Vikingo to win that championship. The War Raiders, Eric and Ivar, are challenging the AAA Tag Team Champions of Pagano and Psycho Clown. War Raiders obviously having a little bit of a tough time on WWE television. They have had some fun in AAA so far. Right now, the War Raiders, it's pretty even odds. War Raiders right now are at minus 110, and Pagano and Psycho Clown, the retainer, are at minus 130, which means right now, Pagano and Psycho Clown, their odds of retaining are 52%. Almost the Cody Gunther odds. I think the War Raiders are going to lose. I don't see them representing Mexico and being those champions. I think down the line you could end up seeing, I think once Oba takes that championship off of Penta, I think you could end up seeing Penta and Rey Fenix team up again as the Lucha Bros and maybe even challenge Pagano and Psycho Clown later on in the year. So I'm going with the War Raiders to lose. I think it'll be a fun match. War Raiders actually doing pretty good in AAA. But obviously, WWE's not paying them to work AAA. They're getting paid a very comfortable salary to work WWE shows. So this is you getting use, but not regular use. So I think this is temporary. And then obviously the main event, not that one, this one, Máscara contra Máscara, Mask versus Mask. El Grande Americano, a.k.a. Ludwig Kaiser, taking on the original El Grande Americano, a.k.a. Chad Gable. Mask versus Mask. You would think the odds would be even higher. But right now, El Grande Americano, which is Ludwig Kaiser, has the odds at minus 500. Gable is at plus 300, which means Kaiser has a 77% chance of winning the Mask versus Mask match. Understand this, and I think this is common sense. If Kaiser loses and he takes the mask off, you just ended one of the most popular, biggest baby faces in that company, because he has respected Lucha Libre. He has respected the mask. He has respected everything about Mexican culture. This is not an act. So you take away the mask, you take away everything that he was. You are absolutely not taking that away from him. Some people, remember, he got out of jail with $100. Some people online, how could you forgive an assault? These people you got to stay away from. There's some very, very unhinged, weird people online that unfortunately have loud voice and people listen. You are not ruining that momentum. This guy reminds me of early Conan, as we talked about yesterday. Conan at some points was the Hulk Hogan of Mexico. Go back and do some research. It'll blow your mind how over this guy was. I'm not saying Kaiser is on that level, but Kaiser is on that level compared to early days of Conan. Kaiser is not losing this mask. He will win. Gable will unmask. Then Gable will make his return to WWE television, maybe in time for the King of the Ring tournament. The tournament's not only 1 week. It's going to go on for multiple weeks. So Gable could be back in time for that. But, and understand this too, just because Gable takes the mask off doesn't mean that his work in AAA is done. I think, that could intensify their feud even more. So I'm going with Kaiser. And I don't even think there's a chance. I mean, if I'm betting the house, I'm betting Kaiser. You totally destroy the number one baby face in that company. Even if he kept the mask, like people like, oh my God, because I threw a thumbnail up last week when Hogan turned on WCW and formed the NWO. That night when they threw all the garbage in the ring, and I said the night that Kaiser betrays AAA, There will be riots going on. You are not doing that now. This guy, he hasn't even won the championship yet. They will do parades for this guy. That's how over this guy is right now. He's kissing babies. He's defending his Latino girlfriend. He's respecting Lucha Libre. He's putting 500% effort in this. The crowd is just hooked on this guy. You do not rock that boat. You do not even scratch that boat. He is winning, and it's not even close. It's going to be interesting what they do after the match is over and after Gable takes the mask off. But ultimately, the road points to El Grande Americano versus Dominik Mysterio for the Mega Championship. And think about this, too. Dominik is also massively over in that company. At some points, Dominik and Kaiser were together. You do Dominik versus Kaiser, that's almost like a holiday in Mexico. People will be closing their stores early to go see that match. That's that, and I'm not even exaggerating. That's how big wrestling fans take that in Mexico. So that is your card. That is your card. So before we wrap this up, got to give a super shout out. Sorry that this is a little bit late. But Peter Grippo says he thinks Jacob's promo to Roman revealed he's losing at Clash in Italy. I agree. I think the one part of his promo that spoiled it is when he said that he'll be around after this match is over. Because remember, the whole idea was, Adam Pearce wanted to fire him. And Roman was like, no, tribal combat, no, don't, put the hand on the microphone. And then people were talking like, if Jacob Fatu loses, he's still going to be unhinged. They're going to, in storyline, Adam Pearce is going to fire him, going to let him go. Why he wouldn't go back to SmackDown, I don't know. I don't know Adam Pearce had that power. But the point is, when he said that even after Clash in Italy, he's sticking around, that he will conform, I don't think he will conform, but by saying that, I think I agree with you. I think they revealed the outcome of that match. Roman was the odds-on favorite anyway, and if Roman is the focal point of Raw, and Gunther, who is a big part of Raw, is now on SmackDown, and CM Punk hasn't even brought back the television yet, you honestly think you continue even for a couple of weeks on the Netflix as Jacob Fatu, as the number one guy, as the tribal chief? Like, I get it. Oba, obviously is got it too. But at this point, you don't want Jacob Fatu and Oba Femi to be the top two guys for Raw. That's halfway in the first 5 years of Netflix. They're a little less than 2 years in. Remember, after 5 years, Netflix could pull out. So you're not fucking with momentum at all. Roman is going to stick around for a little while. Plus, Roman said he's going to be here through the summer. If Jacob wins, then what is this going to do? Play patty cake? Then now Roman's going to feud with Jacob and get the title back? It's like, I don't think there's any chance whatsoever of Roman losing that belt. So, thank you for that. So, if you're not interested in some lighthearted convo about Marisela Peña, then you could disconnect now. I want to thank you very much for joining me. I'll be back on Wednesday for Wednesday Night Dynamite. We'll be on Patreon Thursday for our weekly conversation. Usually goes 2.5, 3 hours. And then Saturday will be the history show. Sunday we'll be live on YouTube for the sit down. And we're right back to the regular. And Sunday we will be on YouTube talking about Clash in Italy. I will be doing a full recap and review Sunday night. Remember, next Monday, Raw will be on at 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central, 11 a.m. Pacific. I don't know why I keep getting that stuck. 11 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern. That's the same format with Clash in Italy. So it looks like right now I will be live right after Raw next week, which means I'll have to leave my office a little bit early. I don't think that'll be too much of a problem next Monday. So since Raw usually goes 2.5 hours now with commercials, we think about 4:30 p.m. next Monday. So if you want to join me live right after Raw next week, about 4:30 p.m. Eastern, we'll be live. Audio will always be up as usual. So now, if you want to stick around for a few moments, one last thing about Maven Invaders and Nash Invaders. A lot of you emailed me that you want the video game. This week, I will be emailing everyone a Dropbox link where you could download the game. I will tell you right now, and I'll explain it in the email, that when you open the folder, you will see maybe like 20 files. They're very, very tiny. There's nothing to them. All you got to do is, I'll even put click here to play. All you got to do is click one button and you could play it on your computer. I have formatted it so it works on current Windows computers. I don't have an Apple version of it or fucking iMac. I don't use Mac. So it's Windows. But even though this game was created in 2002, it still works today. I have made it compatible with Windows 10, Windows 11. So, and you'll be able to figure out quickly how you could make it your personal. You could just look at the files, look at the sound files, and all you got to do is just replace it with a different file, rename it the same, and you could make it whatever you want it to be. So this week I will start emailing everyone Dropbox links where you can download. So, all right. As I was checking my emails also, I saw in multiple questions about this young lady, Marisela Peña. People asking me, like, does she really have a big role in AAA? Does she have power? Who actually is she? Would you hit it? Somebody emailed me. Nah, I'm not going to get that personal with her. I'm curious to all of you out there, and I say this nicely. If you had the chance, would you take her out for lunch? All right, would you take her out for lunch? I think that's the best way I could put it. Would you take her out for lunch, and if she didn't pay the bill, would you grab the wig and run away? What do you think about her? So I started to do some research on her, and I fell down the rabbit hole. Number one, nobody has any idea how old she is. So I started to do a little research on her outside of wrestling, and I think we've narrowed it down within like a 2-3 year period. Now, before I get into this, and this is only going to be about 5 minutes long, we're not going to have to spend much time. Remember, I got a clip that's 43 years old. That should give you an idea how old she is. The clip I'm going to share with you is 43 years old. In the chat room right now, post your answers. Would you do you find her attractive? How old do you think she is? Would you take her out for coffee? I'm curious to see. Listen, there's no wrong answer. Don't feel embarrassed. We're just having some lighthearted convo here. But I started to do a little research, okay? She's the president, obviously, of AAA worldwide. All right. She is the sister of the founder of AAA, Antonio Peña. Okay? Antonio Peña is 55 years old. She is the sister of Antonio Peña. She is also the widow of Joaquin Roldan, who is a promoter. Joaquin Roldan died in 2017. And in 2017, he was 63 years old. So if her husband, Joaquin Roldan, was still alive today, he'd be 72. So is this kind of like an Anna Nicole Smith situation, or is her age similar to Joaquin Roldan? Okay, we got more. I'm sorry, Antonio Peña died at 55, excuse me. He would have been 75 today. Yeah, I'm sorry, I left that part out. My apologies, thank you, Douche, for updating that. Yes, that is part of it too. So you see the 70s age keep coming in here. She is the mother of the AAA CEO, Dorian Roldan, who is in the corner of El Hijo del Viqueño this weekend. So he is 41. So now if you do the math, if she had a baby at a decent age, let's say 20, she'd be at least 61 right now. Now, her husband was 63 in 2017. Dorian Roldan is 41. So if you go back 41 years, that would be 1985. So that means in 1985, Joaquin Roldan, that was 32 years before his death. That means he would have been 31 at the time. So if he was 31 at the time in 1985, you say to yourself, okay, how old was she? So now I started to look back at the middle 80s to see if I could find out anything about her. And what I found was that, get a load of this, in 1990, she recorded some club music. She actually performed. She was a singer. And I actually found the cover art of an album that she came out with in 1990. And that is a picture of her in 1990. Now, you think about 1990 freestyle, Latino, kind of like the crossover and everything. So you see that picture of her in 1990, and you say to yourself, okay, how old is she there? Now, her son would have already been 5 years old. So do you think maybe she's about 30 in that picture? You think 30 would be pretty fair? So if she was 30 in 1990, that would make her about 66 years old now. But I went a little deeper. I actually found a clip of her performing a song in 1983. Now, this video is awful. I trimmed it down to 30 seconds. I improved it as best as I could, but I want to show you a quick video of her in 1983 performing. And it's like an American Bandstand type setup, but I actually think she had a beautiful voice. Now, you look at this video for about 30 seconds and you ask yourself, how old do you think she is in this video? I personally think she's got to be at least 25 years old in this picture, or 20 to 25, 20 to 23 years old. So this is from 1983, which is 43 years ago. So if she was 25 in this video, that would make her 68 right now. Here's the video from 1983. I told you I went down a rabbit hole. Don't ask me why. I know it's horrible footage, but I think it was Venezuela. That might have been Venezuela at the time, 1983. So how old do you think she is? My guess is she's probably around 65. I think 22 in that video is pretty accurate. I think 22, 23 years old. Again, really nice voice. I don't know why she stopped music in 1990. I can't find any musical career after 1990. I think that I don't know if she's from Venezuela, but I believe that TV show was from Venezuelan TV. Plus, you got to look at this. This album is about Venezuela. So she could very well be from Venezuela. I'm not going to look any further. I was just curious because I was looking at emails and there's a lot of mystique about her. A lot of people are asking, like, who is she? Is it a wig? How old do you think she is? Would you hit it? What do you think about her? Is she attractive? I mean, everybody's asking me a lot of questions. So I was like, let me do a little research on her. Pretty interesting, life that she has lived so far. I don't know how much she truly does in AAA, but I figured, why not do a little dive? I see Jack says that he has read somewhere that she's 67. There's definitely no confirmed age. Probably if I wanted to dig further, if she is from Venezuela, we probably could find out officially. But I think we agree mid-60s is probably around the age. I think we all agree with that. Especially when you add the ages. I kind of think that, if I'm Joaquin Roldan, back in 1990, I probably might have met someone a little bit younger. So if Joaquin Roldan would have been 72 right now, I could see her being about 6-7 years younger than him. So I think mid-60s is probably the age with this. But I figured let's close it out with that. Let's do something a little different. But what do you think? If you have anything to add, post it in the comments. I mean, I read everything. Sometimes it takes a little while for me to respond to everyone, but even on Spotify, I'm starting to see that there's a lot of, comments posted on Spotify. And if people have noticed over the last 2 weeks, I have responded to a lot of people. So whether you comment on YouTube or Spotify, Apple, I think it's just the overall channel. You can't comment per episode, but Spotify is pretty lively over there. So, post it there. And I love the interaction. I really appreciate it. But that's it. 316 MMA, we got into Liv Morgan pretty deep yesterday. They're waiting until after Italy to really start emphasizing on her again. She is not in any jeopardy whatsoever. She's not in creative purgatory. It's just that, just like CM Punk, once WrestleMania came and went, they had to pull back a little bit on some. And Liv Morgan is just basically, just buying her time. So, again, I'm not trying to pass it off to yesterday, but we talked about it for probably a good 5 to 10 minutes yesterday. Creatively, she's fine. She's fine. We don't know who her next opponent will be. Because they're doing Night of Champions, they may not need to really get into a deep feud right now. Because she could end up, feuding with whoever the women's champion is on SmackDown. And as we said yesterday, if you think about it, we're going to get Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley again. Think about that. That's the plan. As of right now, all roads lead to Liv versus Rhea Ripley again. And we were kind of tired of that after a while. So, there's nothing to be of concern about. It's just, not everybody gets the TV time that they can. There's a lot of focus trying to help some others along the way. Right now, the spotlight's on Soruka and Becky Lynch. In a week or two, it'll be right back to Liv Morgan. So, guys, I'm out here. And Douche, thank you again for mentioning, Antonio Peña's age when he died, how old he would have been today. I totally forgot to add that to my stat. But again, you look at all the numbers and then you think of her son's age. I kind of think mid-60s was pretty much the target. I think we all agree about that. So I'm out of here. So we will be doing a predictions contest for Patreon and YouTube. I know Ronnie won YouTube. Steve Spiniak won Patreon. I already acknowledged both of them. I have not heard from either one yet about claiming their prize, but I'm sure they'll be hearing from them shortly. But we will do another one this weekend. Entry contest will probably be up like Thursday at midnight. You'll probably have until Friday at midnight. And remember, Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central, 11 a.m. Pacific. Finally got it right as we closed it out. So I want to thank you all for spending some of your Monday night with me. Keep supporting the website, wrestling-news.com. Keep downloading all the audio shows that I do. Keeps us relevant. Keeps us in the top lists. The higher we are on the list, the more exposure we get, the more attention, which is always a good thing. And, make sure you check out our archives. Almost 2,000 episodes have returned online over the last 2 months. So you want to check out old school DTKC, Minority Report. We got more shit coming up very, very shortly that's going to be added. There is content online that goes back to 2002. Let's let that sink in. 2000. How old were you in 2002? And you'll hear yours truly and others doing this shit. So we are old, but we're still having fun. So I want to thank you all once again, and I will definitely catch you all in the next one. Be well, and I'll talk to you all again soon. Ciao.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the hosts. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.